how do you homeschool? Our state, every single state is different in terms of homeschool rules and regulations. Here in Ohio, the state requires that you have 900 hours of instruction per year. It does not tell you how you're going to have to deliver those 900 hours, meaning some people homeschool all year long, and they may be on 3 weeks, off 2 weeks. You can design the system in your home however you want to. Some people do it abbreviated homeschool weeks. They may only do Monday through Thursday and they're off Friday, or maybe they do Tuesday through Friday and they're off Monday. It's completely up to you, but it just requires that you have 900 hours. And what that really breaks down to is about 180 days of homeschooling. You also need to notify the superintendent every year, 2 weeks prior to beginning your homeschool instruction. Keep in mind, you do not have to have your homeschool year be the same the same year as the school year. Your year may be totally different when you start. Some homeschool families start in July. Again, some homeschool all year round. But whenever it is going to be your start date of your new year, you just need to have this form turned in to the superintendent. Then at the end of each school year, you need to either have an assessment done, which is some form of test for the child, or you can have their information reviewed by a teacher. And if anybody in here needs any teacher referrals to look over their child's homeschool portfolio, I can give you some numbers too for that. And generally the teacher may charge, $50 or $60 to review your child's portfolio of the year, and then they have to write some type of letter saying, hey, this child is meeting. It's very vague, and it's intentionally vague for our state, because some states don't require any type of reporting requirement. Some states have more strict requirement. And it all emanates from the idea of some folks believe that homeschooling should not have anything to do with the state at all, that shouldn't be any government intervention. Extreme homeschoolers feel that way. Why should you tell us how many hours? Why should you tell us what we have to learn? Why do we have to report back to you? So depending on how active that schooling body is in that state will determine some of the laws in the state. But for us, for Ohio, in my opinion, it really isn't that bad. You just turn in stuff. I've never got any pushback. I've never had any issue where someone's questioned what I was teaching or how I was teaching. That's just been my experience. I don't know. This is the actual form that you would turn in 2 weeks before educating. You turn it into your local Board of Education. If you live in Bedford, you turn it into Bedford. If you live in Cleveland Heights, you turn it into Cleveland Heights. I live in Euclid, so I would turn it into Euclid's Board of Education. And as you will see, it's very simple. You just fill out the top information, your name. Then in line 3, if you had like a different address or something like that. Going on to number 4, this is where you fill out your child's name and information and their date of birth. Number 5, assurances. And this may answer your question towards the back when you wanted to know kind of what specifically they tell you to do. This is what you need to kind of have covered in your plan for curriculum. You need to cover language, reading, spelling, and writing, geography, history of the United States and Ohio, national, state, and local government, math, science, health, physical education, any type of creative arts, and then they have first aid, safety, and fire prevention. Okay, so that's the only thing that they tell you to do, which is for most people would be acceptable. They are not very hands-on about what you should be telling your child, which is pretty good. You also, in number 6, a brief outline of your intended curriculum for the year. And again, it's whatever you plan to do. There is not a template that you need to fill out. You just need to kind of give them, what is your plan? What's your framework? What is your goals? What are you going to do for the upcoming school year? They also ask that you list particular textbooks or courses. And I can tell you, for me, I don't always know every single book that I'm going to have, what I'm going to use. I just give them a general idea of what I plan to cover and general idea of what curriculum I'm going to use. So on my form, sometimes I just have library books because I know I'm going to be using library books for whatever. So I don't want you to feel like you have to be overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I got to know what I'm going to do from now into June. If you do, that's fine, but if you don't, that's fine too. You check this box that you're going to provide 900 hours of homeschool education each year. Right here, the assurance that the teacher has one of the following. They ask that in order to homeschool your child that you have at least a high school diploma. If for some reason you don't, you can take a test to prove that you're able to to homeschool, or it talks about you being under the supervision of somebody with a bachelor's degree if you're a parent. In general, that question's, go ahead.
Yeah. How about like vaccinations? Because some, schools require a certain age, you have to be vaccinated.
No, not, especially since you're going to be at home, it wouldn't be any issue. Some people I've heard have experienced pushbacks from their doctors, but not from the school system at all. Not that I've experienced at all, and they don't even ask that, actually. I think, too, this is a good point to mention for any parent that's worried that they are not equipped enough or smart enough or they don't have a degree, or that's really irrelevant in terms of you being able to provide a good education for your child. Most parents are more than capable, despite your background, despite any formal training, to educate your child, especially if you operate off of the premise that you as the parent knows what's best for your child and that you're going to be their lifelong teacher. You're more than able to, more than equipped to. If you need support, you may have to reach out a little bit for support, bring in family members. If you are fortunate and know other homeschool families, that is always helpful. But you don't really need any formal, because again, you're not trying to duplicate the public school system. I think that's so important that, especially if you are the product, like myself, of a public school system, that you have to detox what school is supposed to look like. It's not necessary, if they were doing it right, you wouldn't be homeschooling. That's not to say there's things that you can't bring into your home that you like or that you feel like works well. But I think it's a mistake to try and model what's being done in school, because you're going to get similar results. So free your mind, be free, be creative, imagine in your head. This goes back to that first slide about your motivations and reasonings for wanting to homeschool. What do you want school or learning, maybe remove school from it, what do you want learning or education to look like for your child? Does that mean you sit at a desk? Maybe not. Maybe you guys sit on the couch and you read. So you got to really throw out all of our traditional expectations of what school is, because you're still in bondage if you're thinking that way. For me, I think it would be an expense there that I think parents would have to come to terms with. I think there would have to be a level of involvement still from parents, even if you work full-time job. It would have to be a co-op situation, and I don't know if many people are familiar with co-op schools, but that would still be a demand on your full-time job, because you would have to be able to help that parent, especially depending on how many kids is in the school environment, be able to really mix with the different kids, the different age levels, their different needs, because the whole idea behind homeschooling is meeting kids at their level, making sure that the curriculum is adjusted to their interest. So with all the different learning styles that could be in a room, one person could not become the teacher of 12 kids, of 13 kids, because then we run into the same problem that school presents when you can't meet kids at where they are.
And also with homeschooling, you have more flexibility. I do understand, like, it's a luxury if you're in not in a single parent home to homeschool, but because you have flexibility, if you're working, in the mornings, you could do homeschool later on in the evenings. Whatever works for you, you cater the schedule to make it work for you.
Here, and that's something that I just am starting to look into. If you register, you can register your home, apparently. So, for instance, my last name is Harris. I could call my school Harris Academy, and I could produce a diploma for my daughter when she graduates from 12th grade. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
You have complete flexibility, when it comes to homeschooling, which is great. But more importantly, I think as a parent, you chose to homeschool for a particular reason. And more importantly, you have to have like an end result. Like, what do you plan on having them do? Everybody wants their child to choose their own career. Everybody says that, but bottom line is, if a child becomes a doctor, the parents made them become a doctor. Like they implanted that in their head early on. Same thing with a lawyer and whatnot. So you kind of have to know which route they're going to go so that you can gear them towards that. If you really want them to be a college student, prep them so that they're able to become a college, so that they pass the GED and whatnot. Personally, like with me, I would want her to be a business owner. Maybe, get like a license and, a real estate license or insurance license. You don't need anything for that. All you need to do is pass the state test.
Right.
So if you know where you're gonna push them, you can gravitate your, curriculum towards that. You know, you can, you know what I mean? Like, if they're gonna be a doctor, then obviously you're gonna have to go through a lot of different channels than other people would have to, because they're so caught up as far as like the classes that are required. But there's a lot of like phenomenal positions that a child can go into that don't require college education. They don't need all those formal diplomas and degrees. They don't need any of that stuff. So if you have an end result in mind, you might be thinking, like, I don't care about what the state requires. I don't care about the, because I'm never going to push them towards that anyway.
Part of the system. And then, okay, so that's basically the form. Normally what happens is you turn in your notification form, and then the superintendent will send you a letter to your home, generally saying, okay, I approve the absence of your child for this school year. And that's what you just keep that form as your own documentation, and it is legal, because you could have legal issues if you don't do it legally. There was a case in Maryland where a woman was arrested because I don't really know what the situation was, but it's very unfortunate. And I do think it's important, even if your motivation isn't for revolutionary reasons to homeschool your black child, that you understand that eventually the system will see it as an act of revolution. And because of that, they're going to be harder about legal stuff, about you turning in things properly. So make sure you got all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted, just to protect that, because they will come.
Yeah, like Anita said, I didn't do it the second and third year, but the first year I did it and I received a letter. But I didn't have a network of teachers I knew. But now that I've connected with Destiny, I'll have the network. So it is important that we use our resources and get a network of teachers so parents know who to go to, because that's the main thing. If you don't have a teacher at the end of the year to go over your child's work, you're going to run into some problems.
Say, for instance, because my daughter's 7, so first aid could be as simple, or safety and fire prevention is what to do if your house catches on fire. What is the plan? In terms of government, you can just make sure that he understands the different levels of government at the local level, who your mayor is, what city you live in, who's the governor of the state, or, so again, they don't give you very much specifics, which is great. It should be vague, because then you can kind of fill it in however you want to.